All right, college football and stuff here. It's week 7 of the 2021 college football season, and I'm here with my picks. All right, getting right into it. Oklahoma State at Texas. Texas a 5-point favorite. Now, Oklahoma State has a decent defense, especially for how defenses usually look in the Big 12. They are looking pretty good. Texas coming off that tough loss to Oklahoma. That has to be a really, really tough loss for them. They were way up in that game, and Oklahoma came back for the win. I think the spread is about right here. I think Texas should be about a 5-point favorite, somewhere in there. I think maybe like a neutral field 5-point favorite. And with it being at Texas, I don't think Texas has a big letdown game here. Now, it could happen. Again, that Oklahoma State defense is pretty good. If they can limit Texas, they have a definite shot in this game. But Texas has been able to score some points. I think they've really rallied after that loss to Arkansas earlier in the season, and they're playing better football. Um, I think that they're going to be able to get it done against Oklahoma State. Now, I think Oklahoma State is a little bit of an overlooked team. They're pretty good. If they can get a win here, they've got a really decent shot of making it to the Big 12 championship. I think I think home field advantage is just enough to push this from about a 5-point game to maybe a touchdown game. So I'm going to take Texas minus the 5 points. I think this is going to be a good game. I think it's a fairly close game, but I think Texas wins by about a touchdown here. All right, Auburn at Arkansas. Arkansas, a 4.5-point favorite. Now, I think this is going to be an interesting game because there's some good storylines here. Now, Auburn still has something to play for as far as making it to a championship, which I don't think they're going to make it to the SEC championship. Spoiler here. But they have something to play for. Alabama losing to Texas A&M means that if Auburn wins out, Auburn is the West champion. Now, they've got to go through some really good teams to do that. They got to beat Arkansas this week. They got to beat Ole Miss. They got to beat Texas A&M. They got to beat Alabama. I don't think Auburn can win all of those games. Now, on the other side, Arkansas really, really wants revenge in this game. They came to Auburn last year. They really probably should have had that game won. Auburn was up big. Arkansas had a nice comeback. Auburn had a very controversial referee call to give them a shot at a field goal to win the game. They made the field goal and won. I think Arkansas is really going to be up for this game. The fans are going to be up for it. They are still really mad about last year. I think they are going to be very much hyped for this game. I don't think there's any letdown on Arkansas side. I think they play a good game. Now, both teams are coming off tough losses from last week. Arkansas had a shot against Ole Miss, came down to going for a 2-point conversion at the end of the game. They didn't get it. Ole Miss wins. That was a tough game, a complete shootout, a great game. But yeah, I think emotionally that's got to be a little bit tough for Arkansas. On the other side, Auburn got rolled over by Georgia. Now, in some ways, Auburn looked better in that game than I thought they would. They moved the ball a little bit better. They just couldn't turn those yards into points. They've got to be able to get points in this game. Is Auburn going to be beat up after that Georgia game? I think that's a big question. Georgia's a very, very physical team. How much of a toll did that take on Auburn? Now, I think the big key in this game is going to be the run game for both of these teams. Auburn is going to need to be able to run the ball to get a win here. Arkansas has a very good pass defense. Auburn has been shaky, especially with bad drops on their passing offense. If Auburn gets in a situation where they have to throw the ball to win this game, they do not win it. On the other side, Arkansas has struggled against the run, especially the power run game. They use a three-man front. Auburn has an opportunity to get yards between the tackles in this game. And Arkansas is also going to want to run the ball. That's the strength of their team. That's also the strength of Auburn's defense. So I think the two big matchups here is, can Auburn limit Arkansas's run game? Can Arkansas run the ball? And can Auburn stay in the game with mostly runs? They're going to have to throw some passes to keep the defense honest, but I think Auburn has to rely on the run game in this. So that's really going to be the storyline in this game, is who runs the ball better, who forces the other team to throw the ball more. If Arkansas can get points early and force Auburn to throw it more, I think Arkansas gets an easy win. I don't think Auburn has a chance if that's how the game plays out. I don't know if that's going to happen. I definitely think there is an opportunity here for Auburn to go heavier on the run game and get some yards. They've got a few really good running backs. The O-line has played better, I think, than people expected them to. There is definitely a chance that Auburn is able to establish the run in this game and make it a close game. I think this is probably about a 4-point game in Arkansas's favor, especially being at home for Arkansas. Now, the spread is 4.5. I think this is 31-28, 27-31, something like that type of game, with Arkansas getting the win. I am going to take Auburn plus the 4.5. I think Auburn is going to need that extra half point. I will say, again, Auburn fan, this is probably a homer pick, but I do think Arkansas probably gets the win here. I think it's a revenge game for them. They want it. I think they find a way to get it done. But I think Auburn keeps it just barely closer than the 4.5 points. So I'm taking Auburn plus the 4.5. All right, next up, Nebraska at Minnesota. Nebraska, a 4-point favorite. Now, Nebraska is a team that looks now completely different than they did at the beginning of the season. They have played much, much better. They are scoring points. Their defense hasn't played terrible. They played a pretty good Michigan team really close last week. Absolutely had a shot at winning that game. And Minnesota is playing without their best running back. I think this is a game where the spread is wrong. I think Nebraska should be more than a 4-point favorite here. I think Nebraska is able to get some points. I think Minnesota struggles a little bit. I think the spread is too small. I think Nebraska wins. I think they win by more than 4. I think they win by a touchdown, maybe even 10 points. Give me Nebraska minus the 4 points in this game. I think that's an easy pick. Kentucky at Georgia. Georgia, 22.5-point favorite. Now, this is a huge spread. I don't think this is a game to discuss as far as who's going to win it. Georgia's going to win this game. I don't think Kentucky has a real shot, especially not at Georgia. I do think Kentucky has a chance of keeping this game close. I think this is an interesting game because Georgia has played several SEC teams in a row. There's a chance that has worn on them a little bit, and Kentucky has some good momentum coming off nice wins against Florida and LSU. So I expect Kentucky to try to run the ball, slow the game down, shorten it, and keep it a low-scoring game where they have a shot, sort of like how the Florida game went, where if something happens, if they can get an interception, if they get a defensive score, if they can block a field goal, block a punt, they have a chance of winning that game. Now, the opposite could happen. Kentucky could get down early, and Georgia could blow this game away. Georgia's run defense is absolutely elite. It's going to be very, very tough for Kentucky to run the ball against Georgia. So I would not bet this game. I think it's going to be an interesting game to watch to see how that goes. Georgia's going to get the win. I don't think Kentucky has a shot in this game. But I think Kentucky does have a shot of keeping it a close game, being in it in the third quarter, maybe down by a touchdown if things are going really well for them, if they're able to slow Georgia down on offense, keep it a low-scoring game. If it's like a 17-10 type thing, something in there. That's what Kentucky's got to do to have a chance. If Georgia gets up by 2, 3 scores, there is no shot for Kentucky, and this turns into a blowout. And this could very easily end up like the Arkansas game was, where Georgia wins 37-0. So I would not bet this game. My pick is going to be Kentucky plus the 22.5. I think they have a good shot of shortening the game and keeping the point total low. But again, I would not bet this game because there's just as good of a chance that this goes the other way and it's a huge blowout. Ole Miss at Tennessee. Ole Miss a 2.5-point favorite. I think this is probably the best game of the weekend. I think this is going to be a super, super fun game to watch. Ole Miss has played a few close games. Tennessee has looked really good against some struggling SEC teams. I think it's going to be a fun game to watch. And both of these teams have shown that they can score points, especially these past few weeks. Tennessee has looked ridiculous early in games. They have gotten way, way up. Now, these were against not great SEC teams, against Missouri and South Carolina. So Ole Miss is definitely a better team than that. I don't think either of these teams has a great defense. Ole Miss's defense isn't as good as I think a lot of fans hoped that it would be this year. They're still kind of struggling. Tennessee's defense is a little bit better, though. It's still not a great defense, but it's definitely they've played better than Ole Miss's defense has. I think the key here is Tennessee has got to get a couple of stops. They don't need to get a stop every time. They need to get a stop or two on Ole Miss, and they need to be able to consistently score points. I think this game is a pick'em. I think it is absolutely even. I'm not surprised that Ole Miss is the favorite here, but I don't really think they should be. I think this is an even game, and then being a night game at a hyped up Tennessee, I think Tennessee can get it done. I think 2.5 points is too many points to give. I think if Ole Miss wins, you could see a similar game to their game against Arkansas, where it comes down to someone going for a 2-point conversion at the end of the game, and somebody wins by a point. But yeah, Tennessee, home underdog, night game. Their fans are going to be hyped. It's going to be a packed stadium. Tennessee believes in their team. They're on a good streak. Give me Tennessee plus the 2.5, and I think they have a great shot of winning this game outright. Last up, Arizona State at Utah. An even game. No favorite on the spread. I think this is going to be a fun night game if you're still up for this. Pick'em game on the spread, and I think that's right. I think this is a pretty even game. I think Arizona State is a slightly better team. They've impressed me a little bit more. Herm Edwards, I was not super high on him as a head coach when he got hired at Arizona State, and he has really surprised me. He's been way, way better than I thought he would be. So I think they have an edge there in coaching. Now, I think Utah is a good team, especially on defense. I think this is going to be a back and forth game. Now, Utah's pass defense is really their strength, and that is the strength of Arizona State's team. So I think that's a great matchup to watch here. Stats-wise, Utah's pass defense is bordering on elite. They are very good. Now, Arizona State's pass offense is good enough that really I'm expecting these two offenses to be about even in like yards per play type stats. I think Arizona State can get it done. I know it's going to be a night game. It's on the road. I think Utah definitely has a shot here. I think Arizona State's pass game is just good enough that they're still going to be able to get some good yards. They're going to be able to turn that into points. I think they get the win at Utah. Give me Arizona State to win it, and since it's an even spread, that's the pick. That's it for this week. If you enjoyed this video, click the like button, subscribe to the channel. I do these every week. Let me know in the comments if you think I got any of these wrong. Give me your picks, and otherwise, see you next time.